So, hi everyone. This is the third time I'm trying to do this tonight. For some reason, I got cut off the last two times. So, I hope this is working. I don't know. Last two times it's actually continued to work, but I just can't see it on my screen. So, I'm actually just going to keep going and hope for the best. I just can't see it myself at the moment. It's all black, but last two times I actually can see the video. So, I'm going to continue. If this fail, I'm just going to maybe use the mobile or something later. But I really want to go through tonight's questions. So I just came back from the US. As some of you may know, I had a little work trip there. And so we didn't have Facebook Live last week, but we have it this week. And so two questions I really want to answer this week. And they're quite connected in some ways. And the fact that I really felt a lot need to be talked about and share with the first question. So I'm actually going to do a blog and podcast about it. So the first question is about feeling frustrated. Someone wrote in and say she feels frustrated because a lot of people talk about finding passion and purpose. And for some people, it seems to be such a clear thing. And then once you find a passion, really throw your life into it and grow something beautiful from it. And it's like an endeavor a lot of people really are hearing to do, but it can be very frustrating, even daunting, if you don't know exactly what it is, and feeling like, everybody seems to know what the passion is except me. So that could be quite an uncomfortable feeling. And also this particular email also talk about that she has a few different interests, but nothing that she will actually throw herself into, because some of the people talk about passion is really like, that's like everything of their life. And she doesn't feel that way. So she's asking how she can change that. The way I take the question is that she really wants to find her passion. And sometimes I think number one is that when we're really trying to look for outside of ourselves, we actually don't find it, because I believe your passion is something more like an internal experience. You have to feel for it. And sometimes we're so busy looking for something, we actually miss the knowing through our inner self. So for me, it is something that, you observe what you're really interested in. And it's actually true. Not everybody will find something that they will throw themselves 100%, no matter what. That's the rest of my life we're going to dedicate it into all that, into it. Sometimes it's like we find ourselves with several different interests and we really want to pursue. We're curious about it. And for me, that's in a way good enough to start, because sometimes you may have to dance a little to know that's really what your calling is. Sometimes we have to tip our toes into the pond and realize, is it something for you? So instead of thinking about what is my passion, I suggest that, just follow your interest and curiosity. And then you will find something that going to attract you or drawn you in, and then you really want to explore and maybe take lessons with practice, whatever the nature of the thing is, and in a way throw yourself into exploring what it is. And it could maybe something that you become very keen for a few years or rest of your life. We don't know that. Some people have that clear knowing, and that's no better or worse, because we're all on different journey. Because for some people, while you have different passion and interests in your life, you ended up doing a lot different other things. They may be all connected, they may not, but they serve a bigger purpose that you may or may not know at this point. So I don't want you to feel frustrated or angry or sad about yourself not knowing exactly what your passion is. Observe your life, listen to what's happening, and just follow your curiosity and spend some time to explore your interests. It may become your passion, it may not, but in a way, life is a dance. You must, be on it rather than observing from the sideline or worry too much whether you nail it or not in the first instance. And don't worry that if some people seem to really have it, throw their life into it and be so passionate, and you don't feel you're like that. It's okay. May not be everybody's journey. And I think, like, for one, whether it's passion and purpose, I'm going to explain a little bit more in my blog post about where they can coexist. They may be related, but they may not be the same thing, and they may be the same thing. I will talk a little bit more between passion and purpose. But my definite take is these things evolve. It may not be the same. It may be the same for some, but it may not be for you or I. and I find myself in many different passionate pursuit, and we can be multi-passionate people. So you may grow out of something, or you may evolve and up level in another. So don't get so fixated about the notion or what other people do, because it may not be your journey. And I don't know why from the email that why you're so keen to find out what your passion and purpose is. Actually, you mentioned the passion. So in my blog post, I'm going to talk a little bit more about between the two and my personal journey and what I think it matters and why it's okay that you don't know exactly what it is. But on this particular occasion, I would say just don't get so hung up about what exactly it is, because it changes, it evolves. And third of all, what is it why you want to know? Is it because you think something is missing in your life, or because you think it's time to put all your horses together so you really focus on one thing? Is it really the path for you? Who you are inside really matters. So is this particular question going to serve your ultimate, purpose, or who you are? That's another matter, because you may be a multi-passionate person. I would say, bottom line, follow your curiosity. That will lead you to somewhere that you're going to live your life fully. It's about living your life, not necessarily doing what other people say you need to do or ought to find. So I think it's important. So I hope that helps. So second question, it's about follow through. And there's this person wrote in about why he often starts something very excited, but then only left half baked and half finished, and then something else came up and run into another thing. He really want to change that habit. So, my coaching advice on this particular case is, first of all, I would say look at all your half baked projects. Say you may have 5 or 10 of them. You really identify one, a maximum 2. You want to look at as in your priority. And then the rest is that unless you finish the first 2, these are do not touch. The problem with us is that often we are dipping into so many different buckets and we can't concentrate or focus. So the reason why I say top 2 to look into is because you need to decide which is the first one that you need to focus on, right? So sometimes we need to think about it a little bit and then decide which one is first and which one is second. They may be related. If they're completely different, then pick one out of the 2. But I like to shortlist a couple, maybe 3, up to you. But then the rest in the bucket becomes non-negotiable, that you do not touch unless you have accomplished the top priorities. So you narrow it down, and it takes discipline, but you need to ask yourself, why does it matter to you? How does it affect your life? Where you are in your life matters. So you may have a huge project in terms of, say, selling your house and buying a new one or something like that, or relocation. But perhaps this is not right for your current life situation. Maybe you have a big project at work, or maybe you need to focus on your children and they're just little. Maybe you need to wait. So sometimes projects are good and meaningful, but they may not be the right time. So there's no wonder sometimes you start up something and don't finish something. So I think you need to look at your priorities, what really matters right now. Once you have the priorities straight, the rest becomes do not touch, rather than do a little bit from time to time, because that's just going to drag on. Then you focus on your top priority projects. Pick one and do it. The rest is becomes something you're aware that you will come to it when you have time, when you finish the first. So I will always say, I put my hand into something I really need to do. The rest is do not touch, because the worst thing can happen is that you're trying to do too many things at the same time, in which you don't accomplish anything. So that's the way I deal with it. And of course, within any project, you may break down into smaller pieces that you can actually work on every day. Because sometimes what stops us is that it's something so huge. This is our dream. This is our life project. And, it becomes so heavy and difficult, and we're just going to procrastinate. So, this, I talked about this in probably different videos and podcasts as well. So you break into smaller pieces so you can actually handle every day. So that would be my approach when you have selected the most important project. And if you can't select one most important project, there's something wrong with this list, because if everything is important, something is unclear here. So I will invite yourself to really ask what really matters. Is the timing right? and focus on just one. And then after you finish the first one, you feel so good, and then you would do your second and third, and then eventually the whole list. And sometimes when you revisit the list, you realize that these aren't useful anymore. This is not something that really matters. I just want to, it's nice to have. Don't deal with that. Kind of completely erase those. Completely forget about it. Because if it becomes important again, it would not become nice to have. It would be must have. So then you deal with that. So that's my advice on this one. So lastly, this is going to be a short one because I don't even know whether they will work because Facebook Live failed me twice. So I want to share with you a little bit about my trip in the US. So I had a work trip. So obviously from Australia, the travel has been long. And I knew that, don't be too ambitious with work planning because I may not get to accomplish everything. And it's often the problem when I travel or, semi-working holiday with family. What I realized once again, less is more. The less I plan, the more I may accomplish, and I even feel better for myself. So on the way on a plane, I work I think 9 hours out of 15 on the first plane trip. And I was feeling very good. I mean, I have a bit of time to rest and entertain myself, but I work 9 out of 15 hours. So I was really pleased with my progress. But then once I got there, there's jet lag, the different things, I felt what I had intended for me to do was actually more than I could do. So, there are times that I surprise myself or that I have done more. There's times I surprise myself, I've done less. So all in all, I realized definitely less is more. The less I plan, the more reasonable I am, the better I feel about the trip and how much I accomplished. And what I've done, and I will continue to do more, is that I've done a lot more work before I left. So I've scheduled everything. And in fact, if you haven't heard me saying that I was going away, you probably wouldn't even notice because things will keep pumping out. They're all scheduled. So I did a lot more work before I left, and I think it was really helpful. And, it kept carry on. And then obviously I will do more after my return. But I also plan in rest time because I know for Saturday and Sunday, I really need to spend time with my family because I've been away. So I didn't want to touch those days. And I deliberately did not plan anything just to recover and rest and be with my family. And I felt it been really, really helpful this time. I give myself the permission to rest and unwind because so often I have put so many to-do list stuff in my list. And if I don't do them, I feel bad. So now I decided, don't do that. Less is more. What happened is that I got a really good rest the weekend. So today, the Monday, I actually did a lot more than I expected. So, and I've become productive again. So really know yourself. This way may not work for you the way I described it. I mean, I did a lot more intensively before I left, try to do as little as possible during the time I'm away, and give my time to rest before I kickstart again. This may not work for you, but for me, the key word is less is more when it comes to work and travel and balance it all. And don't forget, there's jet lag as well, and which I have been lucky because I've been exercise before and after, which I often feel is the best way to kick jet lag. If that's a problem for you, make sure you do something that really involve circulation and everything else, and that really helped me. So now that's the rest for the thing I want to talk to you about tonight on Facebook Live. I still don't know whether this is going to work because I'm talking to a blank page. But last 2 times, actually the video was keep recording. So it was just super weird. Anyway, if you want to hear more about the passion and purpose question, please tune into my blog and podcast. They are out every Wednesday. You can see them on my website, siwingvito.com, in which there's a link here to provide for you. Or tune in on iTunes Podcast. You will hear the podcast every Wednesday. So, and check them out. There's new content every Wednesday. And if you fancy a free ebook on inspiration or take my Goddess Archetypal Assessment, also come to my website because there's a lot of free goodies and resources for you to check out. So come to my website to have a look. And if you want to hear my podcast, you can either do it on my website or go to iTunes or other podcast catcher. You will find it under the name Code Siwing. So I hope it has been helpful for you and you had a glorious weekend. And I'm going to talk to you again next week.